Hey folks, so while I was at Gamescom, I landed an interview with Hiroki Tomoko, the producer for Dragon Ball FighterZ. You guys knew this was happening, you have literally sent me hundreds of questions, so obviously not all of them make the cut, and some of them shouldn't have made the cut because they provided me with some of the cringiest moments in my entire career.
You know that we're not Arc System.
So I'm cutting all of that stuff off. Now this video is going to bring you the main points that we learned from that interview, and I'm going to be providing context and also commentary for the answers. But if you'd like to watch a more traditional interview, question, answer, you can follow the link down in the description below because I've posted that over at my personal channel. Alright, so the most common question, the one that's probably in your head is what's the next character for Dragon Ball FighterZ? And I know that's the case because I asked, hey, what's the most common question you've gotten all event? It was kind of an icebreaker.
So
the most frequent question that we receive is, I would guess, which character is coming up next. I completely understand that because of the visuals that we have, especially the Dragon Ball fans are really hoping that they'll be able to play with their favorite character with the graphics of Dragon Ball FighterZ. So I'm always feeling a bit sorry that we're not able to give out details, but we hope users will look forward to further information on that.
Obviously they weren't ready to reveal that, look forward to more announcements, but there's still a lot of things we can talk regarding future characters. For instance, Guilty Gear is known for its really strong cast of female characters. Dragon Ball, on the other hand, doesn't really have a lot of ladies, so I was wondering how they were going to tackle this issue, and hopefully that would give us some insight into what the future of the roster is.
So though we did bring up the topic about Android 18, well, the criteria that we have for Dragon Ball FighterZ when choosing the characters to implement is simply based on whether or not they can fight uniquely as a fighting game character. Because a lot of Dragon Ball games, basically we choose the characters based on their popularity. But for Dragon Ball FighterZ, we're kind of choosing them based on their uniqueness or how they can fight in a fighting game. So we're not really focusing that much on the balance between guys or girls.
From that answer, I think, you know what, Android 18 may very well be the only female character in the entire game. And that doesn't bother me, personally, but I'm a man and I'm kinda white, so I guess my opinion isn't really valid. But they chose to be faithful to Dragon Ball and that's their choice. Whatever their answer was to this question, someone was gonna be mad. For instance, if they wanted to have more female characters, someone could criticize them for not being faithful enough to the Dragon Ball canon, or just crumbling to the pressure of the SJWs. Also, I think they pretty much confirmed that either original Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball GT characters are still coming to the game.
Alright, so this is also a question that we kind of receive frequently, but if we kind of go into the arcs of the different arcs of Dragon Ball, that'll kind of be giving away some of the characters that will be coming up. So for the characters, we really want users to look forward to further information.
So yes, the answer doesn't reveal much, but if you read in between the lines, they pretty much said that they can't say which arcs they're pulling from because it would be too revealing. And it's one of those questions that if the characters from GT or original Dragon Ball weren't coming into the game, I think they'd have no problem in just saying, no, we're not including those. So my money is on Dragon Ball GT characters being in the final game. Next, character skins. They have a lot of different color schemes for all the characters, as you may know. 4 different color schemes. Now, in the final game, they'll have more than 10, but I wanted to know if there was space for full-on costumes, full-on appearance changes. For instance, Trunks with the Dragon Ball Super outfit, or maybe Android 18 in her own tracksuit.
So in the base game, we aren't currently planning to have complete different costume changes. But we do receive a lot of voices from fans and also the press saying that, well, costume changes could be an option. So in our minds, since though nothing is finalized, in our minds we are thinking that maybe we should consider costume changes as well.
I say we keep making noise and make it happen because they are definitely listening. And finally, as far as characters go, they have different stats. We've seen this on magazines, and these stats will be kind of significant in the final game. I wanted to confirm this because the stats in the magazines, they were only coming out in Japan, and they were sort of giving me a fantasy football vibe, so I wasn't really sure if the stats were gonna make it in, but yes, they will actually have a big impact in-game.
Okay, so in terms of stats, you're right that basically we are making a difference in between, for example, Goku and Krillin, because if Krillin can simply defeat Goku with his stats, then that's not being faithful to the anime. But at the same time, if he can't do anything against Goku, then that's not going to be a good fighting game. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of decided to make the game a 3 versus 3, so that you won't have to actually go 1 versus 1. For example, Krillin, he may not be as strong as Goku, but he has specific and unique attacks or abilities that can recover your team members, such as throwing a Senzuken, exactly. So we believe that with the 3 versus 3 and giving different roles and abilities to different characters, we can be faithful to the anime while creating a good balance in terms of a fighting game.
That's it as far as characters go. Regarding story mode, which they announced close to Gamescom, I have a video coming up later this week, which will go into further detail, but in the interview I was able to at least confirm that the story mode wasn't just going to be a series of fights with cutscenes in between. There will be unique hooks to story mode, and also, interestingly enough, they're making it into something that can be very replayable.
So in terms of the story of Dragon Ball FighterZ, it may be a little bit different from what we have in Guilty Gear. And what we're planning to do is not make it like a simple flow where you just fight and then you see a cutscene and then you fight and then a cutscene again. We're planning to include some replayability within those scenes, I would say, within the flow or the process of the story mode, so that casual users will, and Dragon Ball fans will also be able to enjoy the story.
カジュアルユーザー層の方でも結構入りやすいようなストーリーモードにしたいなというふうに考えてますので、続報をお待ちいただければと思います。
There will also be other single-player modes in addition to story mode, but they weren't able to confirm what those are. They are not ready to announce them. As far as the pro scene goes, they gave a non-answer, but it's also the right answer. Esports is community-driven, and it's up to the community to push this game into esports territory. And if that happens, they will be more than happy to support it, but right now they just want to finish the game. Look at the amount of games that came out saying right off the bat that this was going to be esports, and they all failed miserably.
Okay, so no specific details or plans have been locked down for in terms of esports or tournaments post-launch, because what we're really focusing on right now, because we understand that esports is a fan-driven community, what we're trying to do is really polish up the game, make the game better, so that users can decide on their own if or not if Dragon Ball FighterZ can be good enough to go esports.
So they gave the right answer, even if the answer is a little bit boring. Now, as far as a Nintendo Switch version, I got so many requests to ask this that I couldn't just skip the question, but I knew we were gonna get the same answer as always. We're working on Xenoverse 2, so the plans for the Switch are still TBD. I asked what they think of the demands from the fans and what would be the best place for you guys to express your desire for the Switch version, and they didn't really know what to say. They don't have a specific place for fans to go, but they're aware of the demands, so they are considering a Switch version. So I say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, because they're listening.
Okay, so we are really thankful to the voices from the fans in terms of the Switch version, but unfortunately, to be completely honest, the plan is still really TBD, so we can't give like a specific answer to the users at this point of time, especially because we're really focusing right now in releasing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on Switch, which is coming up on September 22nd. So we hope that users will first enjoy that, and then we hope that we can make updates in terms of the Switch version.
I think it's definitely coming. They just don't want to get in the way of the marketing for Xenoverse 2. That's my opinion, at least. And unfortunately, that was all the time we had, so I closed with kind of a generic question. What were you most proud to have already achieved in this game?
それがですね、まだ達成が全然開発の方は絶賛続いているので。
So to be completely honest, since we're still really busy with the development of the game, I don't feel like we accomplished anything at this point of time. But what really made us happy was that since it is a Dragon Ball game and we have the graphics that are faithful to the anime, we thought that Dragon Ball fans will be really happy with what we deliver. But what was surprising was that we are also getting a lot of positive feedback from the fighting game audience as well, which is really gives us a high motivation to keep on going. So right now, the first thing that we want to accomplish is to deliver this Dragon Ball FighterZ as a high-quality Dragon Ball game and as a fighting game as well.
クオリティっていうのはしっかり保つように、そこをまず達成したいなというふうに考えています。
Alright, those are all the questions, all the major information that we got from the interview. There were more questions and interesting answers, but not as revealing as the ones that we covered here. But if you want to watch the full interview, link in the description down below. And if you don't want to miss our video with more details on story mode, make sure you subscribe and enable those notifications. In the meantime, while we wait for fighters, here are 5 games that will prepare you for when the time comes. If you're in the mood for something else, you can always click right here. But as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.